Sasha and Kathy were. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our search engine optimization webinar. As you're entering, I'm muting you. If I miss muting you, I guess I ask that you mute yourself. Doesn't mean you're not allowed to participate and be part of the conversation, but depending on how many people we get, we did have 20 to 30 people that were signed up. So obviously we want to make sure that things are as quiet as possible. So it's not just a cacophony of noise in the background. So again, this is going to be search engine optimization. Fair warning, this is going to be potentially a lot of information. This is a topic that admittedly not all of us are super familiar with. This is something that oftentimes gets outsourced as a small business owner. This is something that we have somebody build the website and we trust that somebody's going to take care of it for us. And I get that. So I'm going to throw a lot of info at you here. In doing so, you're going to get a copy of this. You're going to get some of the tools that we actually use as well with regards to our own SEO and some of the work we do with different businesses. We're going to go through all kinds of different tactics to ensure that you're getting found online. So without further ado, let me just pop that up. And because nobody wants to continue looking at me, I'm going to share my screen. So I'll just be much, much smaller. Good to see everyone. And so yeah, this is search engine optimization. This is getting you found online. So for those of you that have been here before, and I appreciate those of you that have continued to take some of these webinars, I hope they're helpful. You've seen some of this. So this is literally going to help you increase phone calls and traffic to your website, phone calls to your business, traffic to your website. This is helping you get found online. And the beauty of this is these are changes that if you've already had your website built, you don't have to spend anything. We're talking about if you are able to make changes to your own website, I guess I should say, we're talking about changes that you can make that are free and ways that you can just tighten up your process to make sure that Google figures out who you are. Because one of the things that we often do, or that we often forget about, I should say, when we're building our website, is we make it beautiful and we build the most, or we have somebody else build for us the most incredible, beautiful thing in the world, and we forget about making sure that people can find it. And so that's what we're going to talk about. So this is me. I am Toby, Digital Service Squad member for York Region, Kawartha Lakes, Town of Perth, Town of Carleton Place, co-owner of Cats Cove Communications, small business owner. That is, that's my son and I, and that's my son up in the top hand corner there as well. I am a small business owner. Why do I always mention I'm a small business owner? Because I get it, is the short version. I know what you're going through. I understand what this looks like for you. And I understand that your time is limited and your resources are limited. So that's why we're doing these things. So this is what we do at Cats Cove. A little bit of social media management, some website design, copywriting, graphic design, SEO work, branding, everything from Google ads to Facebook ads. I mean, there's tons of things that aren't on here. What we really do, though, is we try and provide clarity and confidence. If you're not clear and you aren't confident in what you're doing, you won't act. So as I throw all of this information at you today, I need you to ask questions. Because if you're not asking questions, and I'm going to ask that you put them in the chat, for those of you that have been here for a couple of these other ones, what often happens is my chat lags. So if I see it flashes up in the chat, what I'll often do is I'll ask you to hop on mic. If you're not comfortable with that, I will get to it eventually in the chat. I end up with a lot of things open during these, and my poor computer doesn't enjoy it that much. But with regards to clarity and confidence, I need you to make sure you are asking any questions you have. Anything that doesn't make sense to you, ask. If I have the answer, I will obviously happily provide it. If I don't have the answer, I ensure that I will get back to you and help you out that way. And then this is my promise. This is always what I ask for you guys to promise to me. I ask for you to commit to doing something around this. This is not something that you need to sit down and book an entire day and it's 14 hours of work. But if you committed to making some changes on your website around the idea of search engine optimization every day for 3 weeks, I promise you'll start to see changes. And that's often the easiest way to tackle something like this. As somebody once said to me, how does one eat a whale? Bite by bite and with one's friends. So I'm hoping that can be a strategy you can implement. So we've all, maybe I shouldn't say we've all, most of us have a website. Many of us have paid somebody else to create that website. Many of us have put our own blood, sweat, and tears into said website. And unfortunately, without good search engine optimization, it doesn't matter how great your website is if you can't find it. I always say it's like building a house and putting it in the middle of the desert. If there are no roads and no paths and no way for people to come find your beautiful, beautiful home, then who cares? And it's interesting because some of the stats that are out there are that 90% of the websites online don't get any organic search traffic at all because they haven't done some of this search engine optimization. A lot of the times after we built it, we go, well, that's it, we're done. And unfortunately, that's not always the case. So we're going to run through a couple things here today. For those of you that attended last week's webinar on Google My Business, this will look familiar to you. Why am I going to go through Google My Business again? Because Google My Business is the simplest way for you to increase local search traffic. What do I mean by local? Well, Google My Business is a profile that you can set up, and I'll show you how. If you haven't set it up before, I'll show you how. It's the easiest way for the near me or around me searches. Google My Business, to give you context, is this. Can we all see this? Did somebody hop on mic and just let me know that everything changed? We're now on my web browser.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Tim. So this is your Google My Business profile right here. So when I Google Cats Cove Communications, this becomes my Google. This is my Google My Business profile. So this is what I'm talking about. Okay. So to give you context, 50% or more of all searches are actually what are called no-click searches. What's a no-click search? Well, a no-click search means when I go here and I'm looking for the phone number to call Cats Cove, I get the number. So I'm not even going to click on it. I now just know I have the number. Or if I wanted to know if Cats Cove Communications was open, I can see that it's open. I can see that we're open and we close at 5 p.m. I can find the address. This is actually a way that people use Google My Business where we can't even really measure it necessarily because there's no real indication as to what that no-click search is in that case. Okay, so that's one of the big things that with Google My Business, 50% or more of all searches are no-click. 84% of traffic is what's called a discovery search. So what's a discovery search? Well, this, for context, back here again, when I Google Cats Cove Communications, is what's called a direct search. A discovery search is something that I do. So in this case, it would be marketing in Perth, Ontario, Instagram, Perth, Ontario, search engine optimization, Perth, Ontario. That's what's called a discovery search. 84% of all traffic comes from discovery searches because let's be honest, if you already know who I am and you're searching for Cats Cove Communications, you probably have the ability to just make that phone call or just type in catscovecommunications.com, something along those lines, okay? 5% of all Google My Business traffic actually results in a click, call, or direction request. 5% is not a number that we think of as being a big, big number, but I get reports monthly that say I'm getting 200, 300, 400 visitors to my Google My Business profile. And if 5% of those people are taking an action and potentially beginning to engage with me as a customer somewhere along that journey, well, that actually starts to pay off pretty significantly. So this is the first thing. It's counterintuitive. I get it. We're here to talk about search engine optimization. You thought I was going to talk all about your website. If the website stuff becomes overwhelming, if you don't want to spend money to pay for somebody else to do it, or it's beyond your technical expertise, this is something you can do to drive tons and tons of traffic. So here's 7 keys to your Google My Business profile. First thing, fill out your whole profile. What does your whole profile mean? It means all of the information. So when you get into it, okay, and we'll show you just quickly in a minute, but when you get into it, you want all of the details that people might be looking for. You can see I've got photos, I've got products, I've got all these categories, right? We don't have any reviews, but we have all of these posts, our description of who we are. All of this stuff is vital to getting people's attention, okay? So we want photos, we want posts. What are posts? Posts, literally, the easiest way to create posts is to take, if you're already posting stuff on social media, take some of that social media information and repurpose it in your Google My Business profile. Features and attributes. Are you wheelchair accessible? Especially during COVID, obviously, what kind of requirements do I have around masks and things like that? All of those kinds of things. All of the different the differentiators for your business. There's a free marketing kit that you can get as part of your Google My Business profile. We're not going to go into that today. I will show you, as well as one of the, I will show you where you can go watch that. We have it up on our website at CatScope. So if you want to go click that and watch that, that webinar that we did last week, then that's something to do there. Responding to reviews and using the insights. But really, guys, it comes down to fill out your whole profile. So for those of you that aren't even sure if you have a profile yet, let's talk about how to start your Google My Business profile just very quickly. So I'm just in Google Maps. It's the easiest way to kind of to show it. So you can go to your Google Maps. It will show you the area of the world that you're in, obviously, and you can do a couple different things. Easiest thing is click the 3 lines up there, and you can add your business or add a missing place if you don't exist, okay? Easiest thing to do is to do it that way. What does that mean? It means once I go add my business, and we're just going to let it kind of churn here for a second while it loads up, it's going to allow me to start to create my business and my profile. It's really that simple. It's really, really, really that simple. What's the name of your business? This is how you start to do it. If your business already exists and you want to claim your business, well, then what you'll do is you'll find it. And so in here, instead of edit your business information, you will have an option to claim this business. You click it, you put your email address in, and you claim it as your business. It's really that simple. And then again, you can begin to fill out that information. So what does it mean if this profile exists, but you haven't claimed it? It just means Google has started to figure out who you are. Other people may have been providing some of this information. Google obviously sends their Google car around, and so they have 360 images and things like that. But that's the first step in getting your Google My Business profile set up. And it's actually the easiest step to ensure that your search engine optimization is primo, is great, okay? Any questions about Google My Business before I move on? Because we're going to get into a lot of SEO work here. So just going to close a couple tabs down here as well. If you want to go watch the Google My Business webinar, catscovecommunications.com/resources. We have all of our webinars that we've been doing up here. And we're going to keep adding some resources. It's all free, guys. This is just a link to our YouTube channel. They are private. Links. So you've got to go through here. Why do we do that? Well, from an SEO standpoint, it drives traffic. The more traffic we drive through our website, frankly, the better Google looks at us. It's all kind of how we do it that way. So some terms as we're going to start going through search engine optimization. So down here, SEO, When you hear me say SEO, I mean search engine optimization. If you ever hear somebody talk about SERP or you read the term SERP, search engine results page is what we're talking about. That's our conversation there, okay? Don't let the acronym confuse you, okay? On-page SEO, we're going to talk about on-page SEO. This is what we often think about. That's your website. That's how it's set up, your page descriptions and titles, the file names of images, and your user experience. I need you, we're not going to talk about user experience a ton here, but I need you to think about user experience when you set up your website. If you've set it up so it works great for you, but not for me, the user, you need to consider that I might not spend time on your site. And if I don't spend time on your site, you're not going to convert me to a customer. There's also a term that we're going to talk about called off-page SEO, right? And that's everything outside your website, links, social media, and really the relevance according to Google. You're also going to hear me talk about a term called your meta description. Do not get confused by meta description. This is simply your page description. That's all we're looking at there is the page description. So some stats around search. 68% of all online experiences begin with a search engine. This is from an article. This is literally from an article last week. So these are relevant numbers, okay? 0.78 of Google searchers, and I'm willing to bet all of us are the same, okay? Click on results from the second page. If you don't find it on that first page, what's the likelihood you're going to keep pushing through? Probably not very high. 53% of all traffic comes from organic search. That means non-paid search. That means you popped up naturally and organically when I search for something. Google is what we talk about. Google is the phrase that we use because 93% of all global traffic comes from Google search, Google Images, and Google Maps. SEO drives 1,000% more traffic than social media. It just does. Because think about it, if nearly 70% of all online experiences begin with a search engine, that makes sense. And here's the other thing, 70% or just under 70% of all queries, of all terms that somebody searches when they put in when they put it into a search engine, into Google, contain 4 words or more. Why is that important? That's important because when we're talking about keywords and we're talking about body and copy and things like that on your website, you have to think, I'm not just searching for shoes, I'm searching for black shoes, black Nike, size 12 and a half. That's what I'm searching for. So we want to make sure that we're considering, again, when I talk about user experience on your website, you have to think about what the user experience is when they're searching. How do you search for things? Okay, that's what you need to think about. We're going to talk about the idea of backlinks. This is off-page SEO. What are backlinks? Well, backlinks are your links to other sites, okay? Google has said that backlinks are one of their top 3 ranking factors. We don't think about this. We don't think about this to the point that 66% of pages that exist out there aren't linked anywhere else on the website or on the web. They just exist as these silos. Back to, if you haven't built roads to this beautiful house in the desert, nobody will ever find you. So what do backlinks mean? Well, it means if you are a member of your local chamber of commerce, make sure you're linked on their website. And you know what? Link back to them as well. If you work with other businesses in the area, link to those businesses. There's all kinds of things that you can be doing to create backlinks. I'm going to show you later, Toby, how do I know if I have backlinks? I'm going to show you a tool that we use to assess all the backlinks, all the places that exist out on the web that have linked to your website, okay? So you don't have to consider it manually that way. I'm going to show you a tool that you can use to figure this out, all right? So most top ranking pages get followed, right? So these are backlinks from new websites at a pace of 5 to 14.5% per month. So all of those sites that sit at the top in your top 3% are the ones that are frankly continuing to work on backlinks, continuing to make sure that they are out there everywhere else, that all roads lead to them. So the more backlinks a page has, the more organic traffic it gets from Google. Buying a link Okay, so the concept of buying a link, which is what you can do, where you can like basically say to somebody, I want to pay to make sure that you link to my page. The average cost is about $361. Paid guest posts. I don't know if you guys get this. We get this all the time, where I get emails constantly from people that are like, hey, we'd love for you to link to our articles. Hey, Toby, we've done a great, we've created all these blogs around search engine optimization. If we give you the links, will you link to us from your website? They're doing that to avoid paying the $80 or the $77.80, but they're also doing that, they're submitting so that I become somebody that links to them. 73% of all names have reciprocal links, meaning that they also link back and forth. So when I talk about the chamber, that's what I'm talking about. These are things that it's not going to make sense in this precise moment. Later, I'm going to show you some tools we use when we're talking about backlinks. This is the information that I'm talking about, okay? Location, location, location. Back to Google My Business, 8% of searches for something nearby result in a purchase. So again, restaurant near me. I get Tim here, so art gallery near me, interior design near me, retail near me, whether it's shoes or pants or whatever it is. 8% of searches for something nearby result in a purchase, right? Yelp appears in the top 5 search results for 92% of these. Now that does not mean I'm telling you to go buy Yelp or to go pay for Yelp, but Yelp has done such a good job because Yelp is this leader that it appears in the top 5% now. These are all near me stats. I'm not going to read through all of them, but look at this. Look at how stores open near me and on sale near me has grown. YOY means year over year, has grown 250% year over year over the past few years. And 30% of all mobile searches are related to location. So think about it, even just when you have your phone, right? When you have your phone and you have your location services turned on and you search for coffee, well, you're going to get the ones that are near you. You want to make sure that you are taking care of that. So if you don't reference, it depends what you want to do. But for most of us as small business owners, we're working with local people. We're not all international conglomerates. We're not shipping all over the world. We're not doing things like that. So what we want to make sure is that in our website, for me, I want to reference the fact I'm from Perth, Ontario. I want my Google My Business profile to be filled out that way. But I also want on my website for people to know that I'm local. That's something that we want to make sure that we're talking about. With photos, we want to always shrink our images. We don't do this nearly enough. We take these beautiful, beautiful photos, and I get it, and we upload them, and we do all of this stuff, and we upload this beautiful photo, and it's far, far too big. So literally, you see the word I have on the right. I've got Squoosh, 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 Squoosh. Squoosh is the name of an app. You can load your photo in. You will not lose resolution. You will not lose clarity. You will be able to shrink the size of your photo, rename it, and upload it again. What does that do? It means pages load quicker. We are impatient. We don't like to wait. And your beautiful photo taking forever to load means I'm going to get bored and I'm going to leave. And I'm sorry to say that because it probably was a beautiful photo, but I'm never going to interact with your website as a result. Rename your images, give them actual names. Image 3264 doesn't count. Google doesn't know what's in your picture I shouldn't say that. Google doesn't index based on what's in your picture. Google will tie to the name. So if I search for image 3264, great. But if image 3264 is a picture of your clothing, right? And it's a blue shirt, well, then you should be renaming that to blue shirt, blue t-shirt v-neck. Because think about how I'm going to search for something. If I'm looking for a blue v-neck t-shirt, that's what I'm searching for. And that will actually start to help Google figure out, okay, well, if they mention it here on their page and the photos named this is probably a more relevant thing for Toby. It gives search engines the opportunity to find your photos, okay? They're an SEO opportunity. So give them a description as well, if possible. Not all websites make it really simple to do that, depending on what your website looks like. You wanna make sure that not only have you renamed it, you wanna make sure that you're describing what's happening in your photo. It can sometimes be down to the, so if we go back to blue shirt, if your description could be, this blue shirt will make you the life of the party. And it sounds silly to do it that way, but I'm telling you that that actually makes a difference. For those of us that are doing e-commerce, very, very, very important that our photos and our descriptions are named and are relevant. Okay. Very, very, very important, because I'm not looking to buy image 3264. I am looking to buy a blue V-neck shirt. So something to think about there. Words, words, words. We talked about pictures, 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 words, words, words. Headers. I'm going to show you on the Cats Cove site what I'm talking about when I say ensure each page has an H1 header title and a meta page description, okay? When you're creating these headers, H2 or H3 headings, you want to make sure as needed they're throughout the page to flag other keyword-rich titles. Your headers on your website are your chapter titles. Think of it that way. Your website is your book. Every header on your website is, here's what this chapter is going to be about. So I'm going to pop over to Cats Cove very quickly. So here's a great example. This right here, resources, that's my H1. It's not a name that people will necessarily be looking for, but if I go into services, e-commerce, website design, these are the H1 headers that are on these pages. If I go into the back, we're built on Wix. You can see when I'm back in my editor, this is heading number 1. Okay, that's what we mean when we say H1. Literally means heading 1. Make sure it's there. Again, when I show you one of the tools that we use, and to be frank, that I'm going to offer to run each and every one of you through for free. All right. And this is not a, and then you pay, and then you pay, and then you pay. I'm already paying it. It's already a tool we use as part of this free, as part of these webinars. All you got to do is send me an email. We'll run your website through it. We'll give you the report on stuff to work on, stuff to fix. Okay. And some of the times it says you have pages without H1 headers. Well, imagine if you had chapters in your book without titles, right? If you had the idea that people couldn't find you, right? The idea that nobody could really index what was going on that way. Well, that's what we're talking about. Google, remember, Google is a bot. It's an algorithm. So it's searching for flags and keywords and things like that. So that's what we're talking about with H1. Okay. Make sure the words, 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 right? So I keep headers here because headers are very important and headers are really simple to do. Make sure the content on your page matches your page description, and make sure your body copy is keyword rich. So what do I mean by that? I mean, the copy on your page needs to match the page description. No kidding, right? But what's a meta description? Well, let me show you. So when I go back here to Cats Cove Communications, this right here, this is my meta description. So we've all, or I shouldn't say we've heard the phrase elevator pitch. We understand that 30-second idea. Give me the Coles notes, all of these things. From a Google, from a search engine standpoint, this is what we're talking about. This is our page description, or in this case, because it's catscovecommunications.com, this is my website description. Cats Cove Communications is a digital marketing agency specializing in digital media, website design, e-commerce, and online marketing based out of Perth. So let's think about everything that tells Google. Digital media, websites, e-com, all other online marketing, Perth, Ontario. I have sent a bunch of signals to Google in this description to tell it what we're doing and what Cats Cove Communications is about, okay? I've done a ton of work in there to help. If you go to, so this is always interesting, right? When you go under more results for Cats Cove, it gives you all of your meta descriptions for each of your pages. So this is a really easy way. If you don't want to use any of the fancy tools that are online, this is a way that you can start looking at this. So this is in about, right? We work with clients who do big things. Our team, copywriters, social media, photographers, SEO, contact us. Here's my address. Again, all of these things are super important, and all of these are ways to signal to Google what's on these pages. So again, that's what I want to see from a meta description. I'm going to pick on nobody here, but I did a webinar privately for a client and for some youth centers that are in our area. And I'm going to show you what meta descriptions look like if you don't update them. Because what Google does, if you haven't put a meta description is Google scans your page and grabs the first 160 characters that exist on your site. That's how they figure it out. They grab the first 160 characters that exist on your site and they go, well, if this is the first thing you said, this is probably what it's about. So I'm going to go to Mississippi Mills Youth Center. So it's a youth center near me here in Almonte, Ontario. And the first thing on the Mississippi Mills Youth Center homepage is about a jewelry sale that they're doing. But let me ask you this. If you're an algorithm, right? I'm pretending you're a robot. But if you're an algorithm in this case, and you're sitting there and you're going, okay, I am trying to figure out what the mmyc.ca website is all about, and the only thing I have to go on is this. Google thinks that you're a jewelry store? Doesn't work, doesn't make sense. If I go to another youth center locally, right? They've got this, so the events calendar, continue reading, post it on. So all Google has done is grabbed the first words that exist on the website. So if I go into the Yak Youth webpage, it's going to look very different than what you would expect, because based on what I just described to you, you're probably thinking, well, there's actually nothing there, right? There's nothing there except it literally is a webpage that says, check out our COVID restrictions and regulations. When you go to Yak, you can see they've got lots of stuff here. And what they've done is they've thought about end user experience. This is all information that Yak wants to communicate to its users. This youth center wants to communicate all this information to its user. So it's got online activities, right? Okay, great. And it tells you a little bit here, kids help phone, all of these things. Here's the trick. These images that are uploaded aren't registering with Google. All that's happening here is Google goes, oh, there's a picture. Okay. And then it goes on. So if you look, this is what Google picked up. And then it picked up this. That's what Google uses for your meta description. So all of these images that you're putting up don't help. Don't help with SEO. They help with user experience. There's lots of good stuff here, but they don't help with SEO. And we often, because nobody's explained this to us, I mean, let's be honest, right? We often go, this website is exactly how I want it laid out. This is how people are going to use my site. This is what I want them to interact with. I want them, these are all blog posts, these are all newsletters, right? These are all things that when I click on, I will go to different things on the site, but Google doesn't register any of it. So the shame is, right? This is all about their online calendar. But because their online calendar is just a picture, all of these keywords that exist within here, all of these highlights that exist within here, don't exist according to the algorithm. And this is something to be clear. I'm using them because we're helping them through this. And this is something that we just talked about at the end of last week. So it hasn't been done yet, but this is an example of how this works. And it becomes really, really relevant when you think about, oh, you can see this is all the information they want to communicate. But in this picture, none of these words exist online. And it's a shame. It really is a shame that way. Okay. Any questions about this stuff so far? It's a lot of information. I know it's a lot of information. So links. Not only do I want you to consider linking and backlinking to other websites that are relevant, I want you to consider whether or not you're linking within your website. So relevant links on your own site. So I'm going to take a peek at our blog here. And actually, this is going to take too long to load, but here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for information that is in our blog. So if you So a DIY guide to doing your own product photography. And to be clear, I'm literally just clicking at random here. Sometimes we do this properly, sometimes we don't. I have images on my website, and I'm going to show you how my website actually ranks according to one of the tools we use. I have images on my website that that are named 3264. It happens. It really does. It just happens that way. So a DIY guide to doing your own product photography. So it's this blog we wrote. But if you look, here's what we didn't do when we uploaded it. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's linking externally. Okay, this one's going external. What we haven't done here is we haven't linked internally to anything. So we could have, I'm just going through here, and my team will kind of get a list from this that I'm going to ask them to use. E-com platforms like Ecwid. Well, Ecwid's an e-commerce platform we use. So I would like this Ecwid link, if you click on it, to either link directly to Ecwid or back to our services in e-commerce. Product photos. So I'd love in here, right? In this, I'd love for a photographer to take us either to other blogs we've written about it or to clients we've used or we've done photography with. There's a ton of opportunity to continue to link back and forth. And what does that mean? It means you're keeping people on your website. And Google loves when you keep people on your website, and Google loves when you've designed it to keep people on your website. Okay. So why? Well, the more time somebody spends on your website, the more relevant Google believes your website is, right? The longer somebody sits at a restaurant, the more appealing that restaurant becomes for you to try and get a table at said restaurant. Google works the same way. That's a lot of what links mean when it's relevant content. One of the things that you want to be able to do with your links is linking to other sites and having other people link to your sites is like a popularity contest. So what I mean by that is if somebody says, I'll use restaurant as an example, and somebody said, so we're in a room, all of us are in a room, and I said, okay, I've never been in this town, where should I eat? Well, everyone's going to give me recommendations. The online version of recommendations is I've actually linked to you. So the more people that link to catscovecommunications.com, for example, the more Google goes, if they're all willing to link to this person, there's probably some relevant information on that site, and it becomes a ranking factor within Google that way. So that's one of the things that I want us to think about when it comes to links. Okay. Again, just very quickly, I get it. I know we're covering a ton of stuff, and I know I'm jumping around. There's so much to cover with search engine optimization, and what I'd love to be able to do is any of you that have any questions, I'd love to be able to try and answer some of them when we get there. So let's just quickly, before we get into the tools that we're going to use, I want to go through some of this stuff again. Okay, so we talked about Google My Business. Set up your Google My Business profile. Okay, make sure it's make sure it's completed. Make sure the profile is completed. Make sure that's photos, that's posts, that's all of that stuff. Okay, make sure on your site. So this is a great example as well, right? This would be our H1 header on our blog. So make sure on your blog, you have your H1 headers, or on your website, on all your pages, make sure you have your H1 headers all set up. When you're creating new pages, when you're building your site, make sure that all of your meta descriptions match what's actually on your page. And it doesn't have to be the first 160 characters. If that's what you have, that's fine. But you can actually, this is your chance to give your synopsis. This is your chance to tell people, here's what you're going to find when you click on this stuff, right? I mean, so client case studies, our work at Cats Cove Communications. Frankly, we at Cats Cove should beef that up, where the meta description should say more about either the clients we've worked with, the kind of work we like doing, problems we've solved. We should be beefing that up. And that's a great example of what you should be doing as well. Again, you've spent all this time or money getting your website done. Don't let people think you're a jewelry shop because you happen to have something on your first page that kind of suggests that. Okay. So this is great, Toby. How do I actually get a list of things that I need to fix? So this is a tool that we really like using. And it's not perfect, okay? I want to be clear, but it's this wonderful, wonderful starting point. I've got somebody popping up in the chat. How many characters? 160 characters, Julie, are in your meta description. So one of the things that you want to make sure as well is you want to make sure that you don't put then 500 characters in, because sometimes it will allow for more, but you get that kind of truncation, which means you're just being cut off. Because again, think about your searching. If you're Googling for something, this is how you figure out if this is what you want. Right? Okay, fine. This says digital marketing from Cats Cove Communications. My point here is this says Mississippi Mills Youth Center. I'll probably click on that because the title's right, but I don't know if I will because it talks about jewelry. And so that's the idea, is you want to make sure it's succinct. You want to make sure it's to the point. You don't want to let Google make that decision for you in that regard. Okay. So back to Ubersuggest here. So this is Neil Patel, Ubersuggest. This is a tool that we use. This is a tool, admittedly, I want to be clear, that we pay for. I am not suggesting you run out and you buy an Ubersuggest membership unless you really, really want to do some of this work yourself. What I am saying to you is what we can do, because we're already paying for it, is you can ping us afterwards, send us a note, Instagram, Facebook, I'll give you all the contact details, email addresses and stuff like that. We can run your website through and we can give you I'd love to tell you short little to-do list, but we can give you a to-do list on how you can get started with some of this stuff. So this is where you go. And this is some of the great stuff and one of the reasons we like it, frankly. This is what you'll see. And you can do competitor analysis. You can do keyword analyzers. So somebody said to me, I think it was last week, they said, how do I determine what keywords I can use? Neil Patel has set up all kinds of training videos and stuff like that as well that give you keyword ideas, content ideas. You can put your website in and they go, oh, you're marketing? Okay, well, this is what we'll do. Oh, your insurance? Oh, well, here's the keywords that people are searching for in the insurance field. Oh, you're home builder? Here's what you should be doing. And they start to kind of build all of that out. They give you content ideas. Literally, he will tell you, here's the most popular stuff in your sphere. Okay. And realistically, it's like with everything, you can get a free 7-day trial through here if you want. If you're really super committed, you want to hammer through in 7 days and then cancel it, I got no problems with that. Fill your boots, do it. If you want to pay the $29 for a couple months and get the work done, it's also completely worth it. Again, here's your competitive analysis, traffic overview, keywords by traffic, all that kind of fun stuff. All of this information, it's all sitting there for you to take a peek at. Okay, so that's great. This is the free one. Toby, you're not even signed in. Let me show you what Cats Cove Communications looks like when you run a website through here. So you can see I crawled this at 10 o'clock this morning. So this is a recent version. They give you a score, which is always nice, right? I mean, they say we're great, 77 out of 100. 100 is what we get. Gives you a guesstimate as to what your organic monthly traffic is, okay? You can get an actual number from your organic monthly traffic if you tie in your Google Search Console to it. What is your Google Search Console? You know what, shameless plug, join next week's webinar and we'll go through Google Search Console. Okay. Organic keywords, the number of keywords that the domain ranks for in organic search. So this is literally, they're going, you have 96 keywords that we believe you're relevant for, Google believes you're relevant for, and here's your backlinks. How many incoming hyperlinks from other websites are here? So this is all, listen, it says great, 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 great. So you go, oh, wonderful, I have nothing to work on, right? Well, I have 146 pages that it's crawled on my website. And look at this. I got issues. Nothing drastic, as much as they call these critical errors. I want to be clear, okay? But what it means is, or we'll go through the critical errors and some of the warnings. And this is what I'm talking about when I say, send me your website. I'll run you through this. And frankly, I will then send you the report, okay, and give you an idea. So desktop loading time. When we talked about pictures and how big your pictures are and why you need to squoosh them, this is one of the big reasons, right? We want to make sure that our loading time is low. So my mobile loading time is good. It's not great. We have a lot of moving parts. Literally, when you because we like to talk about, we provide confidence and clarity. front page of our website is somebody kind of squeegeeing off a window. It's an active little video. It takes a minute to load. It does. And that feature is a trade-off that we've had to make for loading time. If that pushed us out into fair or poor, I would change our website, frankly. Okay. It tells you your top SEO issues. So the most important issues that we have seen. So this, for example, says 14 pages have a low word count. Well, okay, so let's take a peek at what it means by that. What is this and how do I fix it? So what is this and how do I fix it? Here you go. When you click on it, it's basically saying you have a bunch of pages that don't have enough words. And because you don't have enough words, when Google crawls it, they're just left scratching their head. So the Yak site, for example, that I was back here, right? Lots of stuff. These are the words. Google doesn't know what's on the page. So they're saying, can you add more stuff? Is there a reason that you didn't put as much information on here as you could have? And then it gives you the actual links that you need to address, right? When you go to our book online, there's a reason it doesn't have a lot of words on it. Why? So that's kind of our squeegee in the background. Well, this is what we have. We just built this as a quick little tool, right? Could we fill all of this out better? Yeah, absolutely. Is it the end of the world that we haven't? I don't know. Probably not, quite frankly. But that's what it's talking about. So it's literally this itemized list of places to start looking, okay? Duplicate meta descriptions. Again, what is this? So meta descriptions are small blurbs you see in search results. This is the beauty of this site. And this is actually why I would recommend, not that you pay for it, but frankly, that you take me up on this offer, because it gives you a bunch of this information. And then again, it says avoiding duplicate meta descriptions. So what does that mean when I have duplicate meta descriptions? Well, if I go here, and again, I click on it, it says I have 2 pages that have the same meta description, and these are my 2 pages. And they're saying you've described both pages exactly the same. Well, what does that mean? It means Google doesn't know which one's more relevant. Now, why are they exactly the same in this case? Because if you look, it's under blog, categories, tips, and it's just page 2. It's a continuation. But Google then says, but they're the same. And if they're the same, I'm confused. And if I'm confused, I won't send people there. So this is some of the stuff that we can do with Ubersuggest. This is some of the stuff that you can do with this. We can sit here and we can sort it by critical errors, where it says, here are the things that you got to really fix. Here are the things that are just warnings, right? And here are the things that are just recommendations. So I don't have any recommendations, right? We've done the easy stuff. We've got some warnings. We've got some pages without an H1 heading. Again, what are some of them? Well, a lot of them are in blogs where when we've uploaded stuff, we just haven't created it properly. We need to fix it. But this is an example of one of the tools that we can use for all of this stuff, okay? It's a lot of information. I get it. I really, really do. At the end of the day, starting to work on some of this stuff will increase your rankings. Here's one of the other things that I will say. When you go back here and you can start creating a project. So if I go all the way back to my dashboard, I'm going to quickly show you what it looks like when you create a project. So whether it's your project, your website, or in the case of us, we're working with other clients. I'm going to show you one of the things that you can kind of start to do. You can just go through it as a one-off and just create a bunch of information and just create a bunch of a list of things for you to do. You can start tracking keywords. So for example, if I go down to, we'll pick Valley Custom Cutting, right? Or we can pick Thompson Town Maple. And so we can go into tracked keywords. And so one of the projects that this is an old one that we did for a maple syrup producer near us. But one of the things is these were keywords that we started paying attention to, and it starts monitoring how you're doing in them. Okay. it starts telling you, okay, so this is what people are searching for. But so for them, they want maple syrup, Lanark County. Well, that's great. So they're on 13. Well, we want them to continue to rise and we want them to get to the first page. We want all of these things. So when people search for maple syrup in 50 milliliter containers, they're 10th. It gives you where you rank in Google on all of these things. Now you get to create your own tracked keywords in this project as well. This is not a sell for you to work with us. I want to be clear. This is actually a sell for you to at least start with the how do I start working on this? And if you really, really, really want to get into this stuff, this is then, frankly, you can pay for this yourself. It's a few bucks a month and you can work with the Ubersuggest platform and kind of work your way through it. It's bit by bit. SEO is literally something that takes a long time. The number of times that we build a website for somebody and they say, well, it's not showing up. Like we're not there. Like it's not, how come it doesn't come up? How come when I Google maple syrup near Ottawa, I'm not up right away? It can take a year to really, 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 if you're in a popular field, really start to rise. Usually you're talking 2 or 3 months to really make a difference, if I'm going to be honest with you, which is why I started this entire thing with Google My Business. If you don't want to wait 3 months and you want to start kind of hacking it, start working on the local near me searches by using your Google My Business platform. Okay. That's where you want to work with. Otherwise, if you're comfortable with the rest of it, you want to, or if you have a web developer and you want to give your web developer, because you've got them on retainer and you want to say, here, fix all this, let me know. I'll run your website through and you can snap it off to your web developer. You're already paying them and you can have them make all the changes for you. A lot of information. I get it. Any questions, please fire them off right now. I'll do my best to answer them. Otherwise, give us a follow on our social. Check us out online, Cats Cove Communications. It's a great way to kind of get a lot of this information. We talk about all kinds of topics, but this is obviously one of them that we talk about. If you need to get in touch with me, this is the best way to do it. info@catscovecommunications.com. You can give that phone number a call as well, and we'll be able to hopefully walk through some of this stuff with you. SEO is a really complicated topic. So if you feel a little overwhelmed, that's fine. Then I want you to go all the way back to your Google My Business page, and I want you to think about whether or not you've set this up properly. I want you to start there. This you can do. This requires no technical knowledge. This is something that you can get started with today and you can be comfortable with immediately. With any of the other stuff, like I said, please do not hesitate to reach out, ping me, and see if we can help you out. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Anything I can walk through? Anything you want to see again? Great. Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate you attending. Like I said, if you've missed any of the other stuff, go back here under resources and take a peek. Watch any of the other webinars we've got, any of the other stuff that we've got. We will send this link out to you. It will be posted here as well. Any questions you've got, please don't hesitate to reach out. I appreciate your time. I know we're all busy, especially now that the world's opened back up. So 11 o'clock in the middle of a weekday is it is overwhelming, Kathleen. I get it. It's totally overwhelming. And that's what I mean. This has to be bite by bite. This has to be something that you just say for 15 minutes a day, I'm going to go in, I'm going to check one page a day. I'm going to just start picking away. This is not something that you need to take on and go by Friday, and nor would I expect, frankly. I mean, when we do an SEO project for a client, we're signing you up for it's 6 months. And I don't mean like we're working on it entirely for 6 months. I mean, we make a bunch of changes and we monitor and we pay attention and we run reports and we see how it's doing and we see if your keywords are tracking differently and we see if your search traffic is increasing. This is what I'm talking about. Focus on Google My Business, focus on your meta descriptions on your pages. Those two things are going to make a massive, massive difference. And those two things are going to make a massive difference to getting you found online. And that's the goal. You guys all have these beautiful, beautiful houses. We got to build the roads now. We got to make sure people can find you. Thanks again, guys. We'll talk soon.